It was Monday, February the 13th of 2017, when 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Libby German were hanging out. They were off school that Monday. They had art projects to work on. They were practicing softball, and they wanted to go over to the Monon High Bridge to hike. So they asked Libby's big sister, Kelsey, for a ride. She did. She took them. There was a popular place to walk around Deer Creek, and the bridge was an old railway bridge. It was like 63 feet above the Deer Creek. It was built in the 1800s, and it was abandoned like 30 years ago. It actually looks like a pretty dangerous place to be walking around, to be honest. They arrived near Monon High Bridge at 1:30 p.m. that day, and the plans were that Libby's dad was going to be picking them up. While they were up on the bridge, of course, they were taking pictures. It is a beautiful scenery. Libby was posting photos to Snapchat, and those posts on Snapchat would be the last time that their loved ones saw or heard from them. So Libby's dad called their cell phones, and he couldn't get a hold of them. They went and walked around the area calling their names. He called Kelsey to confirm that he was in the right place, and she asked if he had heard, if they'd called the house. Everyone was frantic. This case became major news. The county sheriff's office got involved. The Delphi area community continued searching for the missing girls, and it was Valentine's Day the following day when one of the team members discovered the girls' lifeless bodies less than a mile from where they had been dropped off.
Basically, we're going to make this, it's going to be short and sweet. We don't have that much at this point in time. Basically, what we've got, we have found 2 bodies. Is that the Sugar Creek?
Deer Creek.
Deer Creek, sorry. In Deer Creek, about a mile east of town. We are investigating this as a crime scene. We suspect foul play. We have not made positive identification of the 2 bodies, so we're not going to be releasing any information on them at this point in time. We've got the Indiana State Police is assisting the Carroll County Sheriff's Department and the Delphi City Police Department in the investigation here. We also have the FBI Crime Scene Investigation Group here out of Indianapolis. And one thing the family asked us to do is to thank all the communities around Delphi and the people here in Delphi for assisting in attempting to locate these the 2 young children that were missing earlier. They just wanted to say thank you to those people, and thank you. They were just wanted to express their gratitude toward the hard work that was done in helping search for these children.
Has the search been called off for these 2 teenagers?
Not officially, because we have not positively identified the bodies at this point in time.
Do you have people still searching the woods and creeks and fields?
There's still people out looking, but it has been scaled back. Let me just put it that way.
Are the bodies of the 2 individuals recovered are those of young female children?
I'm not at liberty to give that information out as of this time.
Who found them?
I'm not going to say at this point in time.
Why do you believe that there is foul play?
Just the way the bodies were found. That's about all I can say at this point in time.
Were they in the water?
They were on the edge of the water, from what I understand. That's about the best I can tell you.
Any outside injuries?
I'm not going to make a comment on that at this time.
What time were they found?
That I'm not sure. 12:15?
12:15.
About 12:15 this afternoon.
Are there any either suspects or persons of interest being questioned at this time?
We have not gotten that far into the investigation, so I cannot comment one way or the other.
Sheriff, you are from this community. Talk about the toll this search and this apparent recovery has taken on your county.
It's been a long several hours. It's played tremendously on the emotions of the community, but the plus is, the positive is the outreach of love and support for the families involved. I think that's been fantastic. Speaks highly of our community.
You've talked to the families. There's been no identification, but we could hear that this was a sad meeting you had.
There is some sadness, yes.
How long do you think it's going to take, of what you know so far, going to take to positively identify these two?
I can't speak for the coroner. He's the one that will take care of that part. That's not something I can give you that information at this point in time.
How far down was it from the bridge? Downstream?
Probably more than a mile, or less than a mile, rather.
I'm going to say somewhere between half and 3/4 of a mile, I'm guessing. The road curves back in there, so it's really hard to tell as the crow flies how far it is, but I'm going to guess about a half to 3/4 of a mile back there.
It wasn't that far from where the search started. You mentioned hours of searching, hundreds of people. So were they not in plain sight in that area, that it would have taken a long time for you guys to find them? Were they?
We really don't want to comment on that at this point in time.
Are there any?
We don't really want to put out too much information at this point in time. Something I will do, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm going to probably put tweets out approximately every hour on updates. It may be as much as that I'm just going to say we have nothing new at this time, but I will try to do that for at least the next 4 to 6 hours.
How do you suspect, do you presume that these are the two people you were looking for?
I really can't comment on that at this point in time.
Were there any visible injuries or other signs of trauma to the bodies that were discovered?
We're not going to make any comment on that either. I know we're not giving you much. I understand that, but I mean we're at the baby stages of this case. At this point in time, I cannot release really much more information. As soon as I can, I will be more than happy to put stuff out.
Who's the lead investigator?
Carroll County is actually the
Sheriff's
lead.
Office.
Is it fair to say the search has been drastically scaled back?
Correct. I will say that, yes.
Sheriff, are you classifying this as a homicide investigation at this stage?
It's a death investigation with unknown sources.
This was one of those cases where you just remember it. You remember seeing those little girls' faces and you wonder, what on earth? What on earth did they run into? Where were they? They were just at the wrong place at the wrong time and ran into the wrong person. Now, their bodies were ruled a homicide, and after many, many years of investigations, the police department became very inundated with tips. The entire community was waiting for answers. What happened to these two young girls? Now, law enforcement, they were pretty straightforward when they'd have their interviews. They were going to find the perpetrator, and they let the perpetrator know, we got something good here. Libby had her cell phone, and she was filming a video of Abby walking across the bridge when she managed to capture a video and audio of a man who was also walking along the bridge behind them. Police believe that man was the perpetrator. So the man walks up to him, and what we've heard for over 7 years now is, down the hill. That creepy voice. He was pointing them to an area to where they would later be found.
Well, first of all, welcome. I didn't really know what to expect when I stood on this trail just a little bit ago, over the course of the last 15 minutes, but a very uncomfortable feeling. We're a year today. What I've seen over this course of the last years are memories and times and comments and things that will stand with me and live with me for the rest of my life. The very best of humanity in the very worst of times. I was able to see from afar this community in Carroll County and the city of Delphi come together and support not only law enforcement, the people that were here that have given so much of their lives to this case, but also to the families. And I just wanted to say I am forever humbled. I don't know what you expected today, but I came to plead and implore you to keep this out front and center. I've said before, and I'm confident I'll say again, I hope that one day when we all meet Abby and Libby that they tell us you did well. We cannot allow evil to prevail. Our world is completely out of balance, and we cannot allow that to prevail. I've said all along that we, as an agency, will be here as long as I'm breathing and as long as Governor Holcomb allows me to continue to stay in the position that I hold. I have the opportunity to brief him regularly. This isn't about how many hours we spend. It's not about how much it costs. It's about every single asset that the ISP has we will give to this sheriff, this community, and to each and every one of you, because I refuse to accept evil as a standard bearer in American society, not here. People have oftentimes asked me, why is this so personal to you? It's personal to me because those two young girls were everybody's daughter in this beautiful place that represents the very best of humanity. And look what happened. And I just hope that one day I can look into the eyes of a murderer and ask him why. And I believe that we will. I believe that we will. Many people have said, did you think it'd be a year? I don't know. I don't know. How do you answer that question? I believe we're one piece of the puzzle away from figuring out who this individual is. Then the real work begins.
And as usual, when a case takes so long to go to trial, rumors, speculation, all of that got really out of hand. Podcasts were started over this case. The crazy thing was that bothered everyone was, if it's such a small town and we've got a picture of this guy, how come somebody couldn't have pointed him out and said, I know him? And I think that's what kind of blew everybody's mind, because he wasn't hiding. He had on a hat. He had on a jacket. You might have kind of looked at your neighbor and gone, oh, it looks like Bill next door, or it looks like Joe over there. You know, you never know. So the police put the word out. If you've seen this guy, if this voice is familiar, please let us know. He's 5'6". Please come forward. From the beginning, the police figured that he was very familiar with the area. So in April of 2019, over 2 years after they were found, they held another press conference. And in this press conference, well, ISP Superintendent Doug Carter, he didn't mince words.
Information is being released today is the result of literally thousands and thousands of hours of extraordinary investigative efforts by Delphi, Carroll County, the FBI, the Indiana State Police, and countless other agencies. This community surrounded us some 26 months ago, and you did everything you could to support us, but most importantly, you surrounded the family of these two little girls. Gosh, I'll never forget it. After you hear what we're going to release today, I'm going to ask for your continued support, your continued understanding, your empathy and compassion as we move forward to find out who did this, and we will. We're seeking the public's help to identify the driver of a vehicle that was parked at the old CPS DCS welfare building in the city of Delphi that was abandoned on the east side of County Road 300 North next to the Hoosier Heartland Highway between the hours of noon to 5 on February 14th, 2017. If you were parked there or know who was parked there, please contact the officers at the command post at the Delphi City Building. We are releasing additional portions of the audio recording from that day. Please keep in mind, the person talking is one person and is the person on the bridge with the girls. This is not two different people speaking. Please listen to it very, very carefully. We are also releasing video recovered from Libby's phone. This video has never before been previously released. The video shows a suspect walking on the bridge. When you see the video, watch the person's mannerisms as they walk. Watch the mannerisms as he walks. Do you recognize the mannerisms as being someone that you might know? Remember, he is walking on the former railroad bridge. Because of the deteriorated condition of the bridge, the suspect is not walking naturally due to the spacing between the ties. During the course of this investigation, we have concluded the first sketch released will become secondary as of today. The result of the new information and intelligence over time leads us to believe the sketch, which you will see shortly, is the person responsible for the murders of these two little girls. We also believe this person is from Delphi, currently or has previously lived here, visits Delphi on a regular basis, or works here. We believe this person is currently between the age range of 18 and 40, but might appear younger than his true age. Directly to the killer, who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight. For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you. And you want to know what we know. And one day, you will. A question to you. What will those closest to you think of when they find out that you brutally murdered two little girls? Two children. Only a coward would do such a thing. We are confident that you have told someone what you have done. Or at the very least, they know because of how different you are since the murders. We try so hard to understand how a person could do something like this to two children. I recently watched a movie called The Shack. And there's also a book that talks so well about evil, about death, and about eternity. To the murderer, I believe you have just a little bit of a conscience left. And I can assure you that how you left them in that woods is not what they're experiencing today. To the family, I hope that you all will give them some time, because we're going to be asking that there's no media inquiry or no media response for at least the next 2 weeks, and I hope you understand why. The family found out about this information this morning. I just want the family to know that when I take my last breath on this earth, I'll be thinking of them. There's going to be a tremendous amount of questions. I know that. Never in my career have I stood in front of something like this. Please be patient with us, please. We're just beginning. We are just now beginning. And I can tell you on behalf of the sheriff and the police chief, so many other partners that have stood with us over this period of time, that we will not stop.
I just unveiled the person that we believe responsible for the murder of these two little girls. So I invite media to take a look at that now. It's not up. We're also going to show you a video not previously released that superintendent spoke to, and also the audio that's additional to what's been previously released. There's only a slight change in it. So give Sergeant Riley just a second as he gets that up and ready. As Superintendent Carter mentioned, he is on the railway bridge. You have to take different steps to get to it. This information later this afternoon will be on the State Police website. For the community that's here, we have 100 copies of the news release. If you put in that URL, you'll be able to get to that site to play it. And we also have that same release for you in the media. And the rest of the state will get that release in about 15 minutes. So we appreciate those of you that came here. This concludes our announcement. Thank you for your time, patience, and courtesy.
He became known as the Bridge Guy. We were not shown very much of a video. In fact, it was seconds. The audio and the video weren't together. They were pieced out. But everybody in the true crime community was going insane over this. Like, what happened? Everybody was trying to figure it out. They also released more on the video from Libby's phone that day. The video clip of Bridge Guy walking along the railroad track. But this time it was a little bit longer, and the audio clip is heard of him saying, "Guys, down the hill." Now, they had many persons of interest over the years. And the one crazy thing about this case was there were two very different sketches of two different faces. One of the men that was named early in the case was Ron Logan. He was an elderly man that lived in Delphi, Indiana. He became under intense scrutiny because the girls' bodies were technically discovered on his property just a short distance from the Monon High Bridge. Ron Logan has since passed away, and whatever he knew went with him to his grave. See, Logan's property was off of a long road, so the area where they found Libby and Abby was really hard to get to. You had to walk down there. You couldn't drive. People said that Ron Logan's behavior after the murders was suspicious. He did tell police that he had been out of town, though, during that time period, but it was later revealed that he actually had asked a relative to lie for him. So that made him even more suspicious looking. Eventually, law enforcement, including FBI, would search his entire property. They wrote a statement that there was probable cause to believe that Ron Logan has committed the crime of murder, and evidence of that could be found on Ron Logan's property. They went on to give information about why they believed that and why they thought Logan was responsible. They noted at that point that one of the victims was missing an article of clothing and that there were visible signs of struggle or fight at the crime scene. They had recovered fibers and unidentified hairs, and it appeared that the girls' bodies were moved or staged by whoever committed the murder. Ron Logan's cell phone was in the area where the girls went missing the afternoon they disappeared and later that night. Cell phone tower data showed Logan's phone in a proximity to where Libby and Abby's bodies were eventually found. So investigators interviewed two women that had been in a relationship with him, and both reported that he was physically abusive. One had even received a threat from him that he would kill her, and no one would find her body. Now, the agents did also give out information that whomever did commit the crime would have gotten blood on their person or clothing. They assumed that it could be possible that the perpetrator had taken a souvenir of some sort. Investigators never did find any concrete evidence tying Ron Logan directly to the murders. And they learned that he probably tried to create the alibi because he had a history of legal troubles. He was not supposed to be driving because of a DUI, and he was trying to cover up the fact that he was driving. Now, they did arrest him, but it wasn't in connection with the Delphi murders. They were probably just holding him for as long as they could. So even to this day, and after his death, no one's sure where Ron Logan was because he had lied. He had asked for an alibi. Now, they never were able to clear his alibi. But even with all the suspicion, they never had any direct evidence to connect him to the crimes. So he was never charged. He died of COVID in 2020. So then came the next person on the list, which was Keegan Kline. They found him to be an internet catfish. So he used various fake accounts to chat with underage girls. He was a sleaze, total sleazeball. He used the name Anthony Shots. He put up a profile of a beautiful man, which he was not, and he would lure underage females on social media to chat with him. They discovered that he was actually chatting with Libby, not only before it happened, but on the same day of the murders. He had allegedly told another girl that he was supposed to meet up with Libby that day, which sparked speculation about him even more. So for the longest time, he was like the main suspect. And there was speculation about, well, did he do it? Maybe he didn't do it by himself. Maybe there was somebody else involved. And I think it was even was it his father? They ended up searching his home less than 2 weeks after the murders. He has never been charged in connection with the case, but he was charged during the search of his home because they found explicit images of children. So they arrested him on child exploitation and possession of child, you know what. Girls ages 12 to 18 would send him explicit images through his catfishing. Now, he's never denied that he was doing that. He admitted to trying to solicit images from the young girls, but he said he wasn't actually trying to meet up with any of them in real life. He said he was lonely and he didn't have a lot of people to talk to. He pleaded guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 40 years in prison with an additional 3 years suspended. At Keegan's sentencing, he said he was depressed and lonely. He knew it was wrong, but he liked the attention, and he said he was truly sorry to each and every one of them. So, there's another suspect that we at one point thought this was the one, and now he's been cleared. So, who is next? Well, the shocker that knocked everyone off their seat in 2022, 5 years later, was this unknown man who had never been mentioned at all. Out of nowhere, they arrest a man by the name of Richard Allen. They charged him with murdering both Abby and Libby. His family, everyone was in shock. He worked at a CVS pharmacy there. A lot of people knew him. And what's absolutely horrifying is that while working at the CVS pharmacy, he had printed the photographs for the girls' memorial there through the CVS. He was just one of those quiet guys that kind of stayed in the background and nobody really paid a ton of attention to him. Everyone that said they knew him said he was nice. He had no criminal record. So the police go in, they search his home. They ended up towing his vehicle, and everybody was asking, like, why now? What happened? In the 2019 news conference, law enforcement said that they were switching directions. So because the investigation had been so tight-lipped, it really did come as a shock to everyone, including the families, especially Richard Allen's family. He has a daughter in her late 20s.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation. I am proud to report to you that today, actually last Friday, was the day, and an arrest has been made. Thanks to literally hundreds of media outlets that have been steadfast in reporting and keeping the memories of Abby and Libby front and center. We are going to continue a very methodical and committed approach to ensure that if any other person had any involvement in these murders in any way, that person or persons will be held accountable. Some of these individuals have postponed retirement, passed on promotional opportunity, have dedicated personal time away from their families, given up nights, weekends, and holidays, all while in the pursuit of accountability for Abby and Libby. While I know you are all expecting final details today concerning this arrest, today is not that day.
I believe in a God of justice and righteousness.
Today, I believe that same God has provided us with justice for Abby and Libby. As Sheriff of Carroll County, Indiana, I want to publicly and sincerely thank each individual who played a role in helping us during this 5.5-year investigation.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Nicholas McClellan. I'm the Carroll County Prosecutor. There are many dates in a lifetime that you're going to remember. The date your children are born, the date you're married, the date you buy a first house, the date Abby and Libby went missing. One of those dates was last Friday, October 28, 2022. At that time, we had gathered evidence to formulate a PC that we submitted to the court, and the judge did find probable cause for an arrest of Richard Allen. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. This investigation is still very ongoing. We're keeping the tip line open, the tip email open. We encourage everybody to continue to call in tips, not only about Richard Allen, but about any other person that you may have. For that reason and for the nature of this case, the probable cause and the charging information has been sealed by the court.